Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Okay, so if you have any Medicare questions, I've got the guru, Scott Michaels. He's the CEO of MyMedicareQuestion.com. And welcome, you're calling in from Cincinnati, Ohio. I hope the weather's gotten better.
It has gotten a lot better. I unfortunately left the lovely confines of Florida on April the 1st, and I headed back home to Cincinnati. And I did bring some of the weather with me. It's going to be 78 here tomorrow.
Woohoo!
For the first of many Cincinnati Reds baseball games that we're going to get to go to this year. So very excited to be home.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here, Scott. And Scott Nichols is the CEO, as I said, of MyMedicareQuestion.com. And we want to know all about that because if anything is confusing, it's Medicare. I have to tell you that. And to have people like yourself who's really there helping people get through it. Now, I know you don't do this personally, but you're the guru who finds the right women and men to answer the questions, correct?
It's completely correct. What we have done with MyMedicareQuestion.com is create a very easy-to-use website that lists your local certified Medicare broker who can come see you in person, talk to you on the phone, answer an email, and answer those questions and give you guidance and help you have the best plan possible for your situation. And that situation, by the way, changes. We all know that, right? We all get a little older. Our circumstances change. And, that person's not going to go away because they're local to you. They're not some 800 number. They're not somebody that you're going to call and wait forever on the phone from maybe some carrier location that's headquartered in, who knows where. No, this is going to be a person in your neighborhood, and we're going to connect you to that person at no cost, and they're going to come help you. And that's the whole purpose behind what we're doing.
And so trying to find these people, and you're doing this all over the country, I gather, how do you do that? So if people are listening now, and of course, we have a lot of your consumers listening, but what about somebody who's been in the insurance business and they want to join you? How do they do that?
Oh, that would be fantastic because we not only have the website, which is wonderful, but we also, a big cornerstone of what we do is we do a lot of expos and events, and we have a big one coming up with you guys in Boomer Nation coming up in July 28th, and we're just so excited to have that opportunity. And we would love to have more brokers join us at that opportunity and meet the seniors locally to them. All they would do is call our number as a broker to get involved, which is 800-283-0040. And any of my staff can help get them connected as a MyMedicareQuestion.com broker. They remain independent. They continue to own their business. Their contracts with their carriers still stay direct. We just help meet them halfway on the road to selling our products by doing all of this advertising for them on TV, radio, online banner ads, expos and events. And a new one we just added, Adina, that is just going great is social media with Facebook ads. We put out Facebook ads. That is our actual television commercial for MyMedicareQuestion.com. And we do it on news feeds, what are called those news feeds, that, when you go on Facebook, you see what everybody's doing. It goes in there. And we put our television commercial in there. And we're running those not all over the country, but just in select locations in 4 states right now, Florida being one of them, okay? And we've had over 71,000 views of that commercial, believe it or not, since February the 17th.
Amazing.
Then what we did was we have little client testimonial videos that are shot by our professional videographer for the broker for free. And these are people that are actually working with these brokers. And these are people that, yes, they really believe in these brokers, and they tell their story of how this particular broker helped them. And we run those too as well, and those are doing very well on Facebook. Again, making that connection to the local broker. We don't want to point at our company because our company is providing the product and the training to the insurance broker, right, that's local. We are using MyMedicareQuest.com to point not only the customers, the seniors, but also the agents at large to the most professional agent in their area that handles Medicare, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, so we can get this interview to you, which we did before, on YouTube, and we hope to see it on your website.
Oh, we love it. Absolutely, positively love it. We're setting up this new video. We're changing the site a little bit to be more accommodating to our senior community, and we're doing almost all of it primarily in video. So if they want to find an agent, there's going to be just a picture for them to click, and they go right to a map where they can tell us what state they're in and then what city they're in, so we can find them a list of brokers. Because, with our site, we put them in charge. The Medicare beneficiary out there is in charge on our site. We ask them for no personal information when they go on our site. We have no forms. We have no data asked for us at all on our website. We want them to be in control. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be able to reach out to that local broker. They'll see a picture of the broker. There may be that client testimonial there that they can watch for that broker. Many of our brokers have that. We have the phone number for the broker and the email. The senior's in charge. They decide. They decide who they may or may not like. Let them have a field day. Let them interview these people and see who's going to be the best fit for them. That's my recommendation, because these people are all very trained, and they're all professionals in what they do. But we know how it is. People find certain people they like to work with, and this gives them the ability to do that without them being pressured. Our agents aren't going to call them a million, billion times and send them a million, billion emails and bother them. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to help them.
Well, I'm so glad Scott Nichols, who is the CEO of MyMedicareQuestion.com, is on the show with us. He's calling in from Cincinnati, Ohio. And if you have any questions, you will want to get on their website. And from there, you will get questions answered. You'll find other kinds of things you never thought of that you should have asked. And I really believe that this is a very important issue, because as more baby boomers are on Medicare, there's more confusion, and things will be changing, and you need to go to a go-to, as I call it, place. And this will be the place that you'll find out whatever you need to know. You'll find a local certified Medicare broker. That's very important, as a matter of fact. Stop listening to the people around your pool about their telling you what they do with Medicare or what you should do. Go to someone who can give you a variety of answers. And there really are a lot of questions and answers. But I wanted to ask you, Scott, what probably is the most questions asked? What's the biggest question that's asked in your business?
Yeah, the most common question, and I always say with Medicare, and this gets down to that local agent, by the way, very important, because you really should have somebody that you're speaking to in person. Somebody's going to sit across that pool. That would be nice, right? Or sit across that kitchen table and talk to you about your particular situation. Because what I have discovered in Medicare, and I've been doing Medicare primarily nothing but since '92, everybody in Medicare seems to be a snowflake, and everybody's so different. Every situation is different. But one question we always have that comes across almost every time, it's usually the first question out of the box is, what about my prescriptions? If there's one dynamic in all of our Medicare coverages, it's the prescription Part D coverage. When you think about it for a minute, that is the one entity that will almost change every single year. It'll change from the person's side, who's the client, the customer. He might have he or she might have a new prescription that they have to, or they might be getting rid of one. They might have to change to a generic. They might have to change milligrams. All these things change. And then the carriers have big changes. Medicare itself changes the tiers of these drugs, etc. Okay? So it's so important. But usually the number one question I get is on prescription drugs. And if you allow me for just a second, I'd like to share something with your audience that just happened.
Great.
With a client that's a friend of mine. And it was so important to me, I just had to share it with you. But this particular person is a younger person. He's my age. He's 54. But he is on Medicare. Medicare disability. He has had 2 transplants. He's also legally blind. He's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met and ever known. I was privileged to be the best man at his wedding. But when Medicare made changes this year, he is on specific medication for anti-rejection of his pancreas and his kidney transplants. Those 3 drugs were no longer covered by Medicare this year. They were not on anything anymore. And this poor fella, he got married, so they were him on Medicaid. So he's on straight Medicare. And he's facing the cost of these 3 drugs. His wife's a school teacher, and so he went on the drugs for her plan. And that was still costing him $300 to $400 a month. Now, this particular gentleman could not afford the $300 to $400 a month. So we worked, and we found out that there's this situation called a tier exception to the medication. And so got a hold of the company, we got the forms for his doctor, submitted to the doctor that these drugs were absolutely medically necessary, or this man would not have lived, and got a tier exception. Now all 3 of those drugs are covered once again. Even though Medicare said they aren't covered, they covered them on an exception at 0 cost.
And that was because of you all getting involved?
Please?
And that was because of you getting involved in helping him?
Yes. We got involved in this because it was like we just couldn't let this sit still. Once we found out what the drugs were going to cost, and that is an extreme example. I'll give you that, okay? We don't run into that every day. But it is the number one question, to get back to your original question, the drugs. I need somebody to go through my drugs. I need somebody to tell me what plan's going to be right for me to go through these drugs. And that really is something, I've seen some of our agents do some remarkable work with people in that area, because you really can't do that on your own. It's very confusing. There's a lot of drug plans out there, and there's a lot of nuances inside of prescription drug coverage that the ordinary person or that friend of yours that might be sitting around the pool, they really don't know. Our brokers go through a 30-hour course every single year to be certified for Medicare sales. And I always like to talk about that because these are true professionals. They don't just get a license and go out and sell. Every single year to sell those, for example, the drug plan, they have to go through 30 hours of continuing education. But it's even a little bit worse than that. They have to get a 90% or better on their test, and they get 3 tries, or they can't sell plans that year. So think about it this way, you're a broadcasting professional. Think if you had to go through a test to be a broadcasting professional every single year, and then you got 3 tries to pass it, and if you didn't pass it, you didn't get to be a broadcaster that year.
That was a little scary.
It is scary, and these ladies and gentlemen who do this for a living, I want people to understand, they put their careers on the line every fall. Every fall they put their careers on the line. Once they get that test done at the kind of the overall level that's acceptable to Medicare, then they have to go into the carriers and they have to take product testing on each product. So you've got an independent agent like we have at MyMedicareQuestion.com, and they're going through this testing. And they're doing it for each carrier. They might have 4 tests that they have to get 85% or better to sell that particular product. So the reason I said that to you is that when you sit down and you have somebody across the table from you, that's a MyMedicareQuestion.com broker, you're dealing with a real professional who has done all of the coursework and can answer your number one question, which is probably going to be about drugs.
Right, I got that. So was this a dream of yours to start this? Because I know you've told me you've been in the insurance field. What was the kind of moment you said, gee, I think we ought to be doing this?
I had this moment. It started about a year ago. I was working with some brokers in the state of Ohio, and they wanted me to do some advertising in newsprint for senior specialty newspapers. And I said I would do that. And we went to a few of the events and expos that were sponsored by this senior newspaper. And it was feedback from the seniors who came to those events and the brokers that I said, there's this humongous vacuum. I mean, people were coming up and saying, I had no idea who to talk to. No clue. People would come up and say, well, I saw that 800 number on that commercial for that insurance carrier, and I called them, but I can't sit on the phone all day and wait for somebody to talk to me. I really wish I had somebody to talk to. And so I started to think it through, and we had a lot of success with that micro situation. And then my background is in marketing communications, my degree. And with my insurance background, I started to say, I was on a lot of seniors, and, the seniors are out there and they're on media. They're watching TV, they're watching internet, they're on their mobile devices, they're just as engaged. And you brought up those 65 turning. You think about those people. The last 20 years of their life, if they're just turning 65, they have been in the technology world in their jobs every day. So when they turn 65, by all means, they're going to go to their computers first, really. So they're doing it. And then you've got the local certified broker. I know tons of them. And these are really good people, really trustworthy people but the connection wasn't there. That was my aha moment. Like, how can I connect these brokers to these people that are out in the media? How can I do that? And make it cost effective, of course, right? But not charge the broker, because these people are independent business people, and they can't afford to put on the type of advertising that my brokerage, I have a national brokerage. I've been very blessed by God with this. And what can we do to bridge that gap so these two parties can get together? The agents need to have this at no cost. I can't charge them for this. And the senior client needs to have it at no cost so that they can connect with the agent. When the sales are made and the commissions are split up, which we all know that's how we all get paid, we'll do just fine. That was my aha moment. We started to put it together. I started to talk to different people that I know in different media. I'm very blessed to have some great people that I'm friends with that are experts at building websites. And we really got together and started to talk about how to keep this as simple as possible, because I didn't want to get into that world of collecting data from people and all that stuff, because people don't trust that anymore. So we didn't want to get into that. And so that was my aha moment. It was like, we can do this, and this is how we're going to do it. But the focus of MyMedicareQuest.com has to be the local broker and the local Medicare beneficiary, introducing them to each other.
Yeah, I just so in amazement, and you think you really did find the right thing, because that has always been the problem, that people call a phone number, people either don't answer or put them on hold, or they don't get the information, and I know that drug is so important too, because if they're not on the right drugs, we used to think it was the doctor, that they wanted to be on the right program for the right doctor with the HMOs, but it's really the drugs.
It is. I mean, I think people have gotten over the hump on the doctors, but even to that, I'm seeing quite a large explosion of hospital corporations that are creating their own Medicare Advantage plan, their own Medicare plan. I work with a lot of those. We do everything. We do the national plans and we do the local plans. And usually when people have an issue with a doctor, it's usually you go in and say, okay, what hospital network are you looking? Well, I always go to blank. And that's where they go. And then you go and you see if that particular hospital, what programs they're involved in. And it really works. Another really quick story for you. I have a lady that I just talked to, good friend of mine. She's up in the Columbus, Ohio area. And she has lost her job. And it's very sad. Her husband has been in intensive care with sepsis since January, and she's lost her job. The bad part is that he is on Medicare, and COBRA does not extend to Medicare. So this man is in ICU. He's very sick with sepsis, and he will only have original Medicare coverages. when we get into the month of May 1st. So when we got together, I sat down with her myself, and when we got together and talked, I told her, I said, I think we can help you, because I said, where is he being treated? And she said, he's being treated at OSU, Ohio State University Hospital. And I knew that one of our carriers works with those doctors to a very large degree. I said, give me the list of the doctors. Let me go to work for you. We went in, looked at the doctors, 15 doctors treating this gentleman right now.
Oh,
15.
my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
First thing I ever did in my life, about 1,000.
Oh,
we
wow.
had every doctor, every single doctor. So he'll be on a zero premium Medicare Advantage plan the 1st of May. That'll be covering a very large part of his Medicare expenses while he's in the hospital, and she can breathe again. But that's where that local agent comes in handy. That's where the knowledge and expertise and knowing your market comes in, and that's what we do at MyMedicareQuestion.com. Those local brokers know that local market. They know those local networks, like I did, and they were able to make that connection and get a successful outcome for that Medicare beneficiary who, let's face it, if that person was on original Medicare sitting in ICU, do you know how much money that is? Even with original Medicare. It would be tens of thousands of dollars, I'm sure.
Well,
so,
you should be giving these people, these wonderful salespeople you have, awards for things like that. I mean, maybe make them a hero or something. It's people who do unusual things like that. That's, your stories have been pretty astounding.
And our brokers that work with us, they do this every day. And I think the thing that was missing that I felt driven to tell was that those stories had to be told, and that connection had to be made, because there's such great services to the Medicare beneficiary in that local market from these people that are over here. They could be passing each other in the grocery store and not know it. So you have to understand that Medicare limits how an agent can introduce themselves, let's say, or interact with a Medicare beneficiary. They can't just walk up to a Medicare beneficiary and say, how's your Medicare? That's a violation. They could lose their license over that. They have to be invited by the Medicare beneficiary to discuss Medicare. So that's one reason why when we created MyMedicareQuestion.com, we put the senior in charge. One, we knew they'd like it. But two, it allows our brokers to talk to them because the Medicare beneficiary is contacting them.
Yep.
And that's very important. So, it's like you could be walking down in the grocery store, you could be checking out, and the guy behind you could be one of the best Medicare brokers in all of Hollywood, Florida. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you have no idea. He can't even tell you because Medicare won't let him.
Is that right?
It's true. And so that's why we created this, because those introductions had to be made. If you come to an expo like the wonderful expo you guys have coming up, they're allowed to interact with you. They're allowed to say, hi, how you doing? Because it's a informal, registered with Medicare sales event. And we take care of all that for our brokers at our company. But to do it out in public somewhere cannot be done. It's not allowed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, let's just
but
say
it's created
that
this vacuum.
Yeah.
It's created this vacuum.
I think it always comes. Don't you agree? Unfortunately, because of some bad apples, Scott, that some people have taken advantage of the system, or they haven't really done the right thing, and then all these kinds of things happen to people. So it sounds like you're cleaning up this whole business.
You're totally right. And the senior has to be protected. The senior has to be protected. And what was interesting about the bad apples, as you say, which I agree, there's been a big washout since Medicare Advantage started of those bad apples. Most of those people are not around like they were. And I know that because of my travels in the industry. Most of those people have moved on to other things. The ones that are left behind, the ones that I know, and the ones, especially the ones that work with us, they're the ones that do the testing. They put it on the line every year. They want to stay compliant. And they're the true professionals. And it's actually a good thing that's come out of it, because they know that if you go to MyMedicareQuestion.com and you're needing to talk to a local broker about your situation, you're going to know that you're dealing with, one of the top brokers in your area that deals in this Medicare market. And so that's been a blessing.
Yeah, sounds like it. And it's just great to talk with someone like you. Scott Nichols, CEO of MyMedicareQuestion.com. What I suggest is you go, if you're listening to this show, just to get yourself up to date, go to their website. It's very, very good. It's going to get better, as Scott was saying. He's going to add a lot more things, but it's pretty good right now. And there are questions that you'll be able to. There's a question of the month, as a matter of fact. Let me just read it. Does a person...
Yeah, we're going to a video format on that one. So people don't have to read all that gobbledygook.
Well, it's as Scott said, it's extremely important that you do deal with a good company, an excellent company actually, and someone who you can trust. And yes, and they will be one of our major sponsors at our upcoming Boomer Expo. That's, of course, everyone knows that's July the 28th, and it's on a Tuesday, and it's at Seminole Hard Rock, and we're very excited about that. So in the meantime, it's funny, we're having a cure symposium with 14 doctors this coming April on the 25th over at Palm Beach State College. So we have a lot of these kinds of events, and we think that they're pretty important. I guess you don't know about that one. It wasn't mentioned to you.
That one, no, I don't know about that one just yet, but I'm dying to hear about it.
Right. And there's something else that I'm going to talk to you about. A lot of people who are listening know I've done a lot of sensitivity training. It made me think about it when you're talking about all these people that you're bringing in who may be very smart, but we insist that people are sensitive to seniors, that they understand when someone doesn't hear well, when they don't see well, when they have certain problems. And we do a lot of that kind of training because we think it's extremely important. There are a lot of, I would tell you right now that there are people who sit at their computer while they have clients in front of them and never look at them at one time. Doctors do the same thing. Terrible.
I hate that.
Yeah,
that's
terrible.
I know. I know. It's part of one thing that a lot of people don't know about the actual training that Medicare requires is sensitivity training. You may not have known that, but we have to take a certain number of hours in senior sensitivity training.
Where do you get that?
So they actually train us and retrain us every year on how do you interact with somebody that might have hard of hearing, might not be able to see so well. How do you know?
Scott, how do you get that training? How do you get that? Where do you find that?
Well, you would have to be an insurance broker, okay? And as an insurance broker, it's part of the continuing education classes.
That's interesting because there was an insurance man that used to have a company, and then he started a whole new company where he included a lot of those things in it, and I was one of his first teachers with huge insurance people.
I'll tell you, that's the right thing to do.
Right.
It's the right thing to do because, this continuing education isn't the be-all, end-all. It just touches on it.
I know.
It's important training, but you could go a lot further and deeper into it.
Well, Scott, we've run out of time, but it's been a joy having you. Every time you're on, I know we learn more and more, and I look forward to seeing you, of course, at our July Expo, but maybe we'll hear from you again, and thank you so much for what you're doing.
I will be there July 28th.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Bye.